Reports today suggesting that Liverpool are out of the running for Dortmund midfielder Jude Bellingham this summer because of the cost of the move. If anyone's been listening to talkSPORT over the course of the last 3 or 4 months, I don't think that you would have been given the impression that Liverpool, Alex Crook, are actually ever really been in the running for him. Have they? Not properly, anyway.
No, not in terms of making any formal bid or commitment. We know that Jurgen Klopp is a massive fan, and actually that at one stage I think Bellingham was quite open to a move to Anfield. Whether that has changed as a result of Liverpool looking like they won't finish in the top 4, only he will know. But the people I've been communicating with in Germany have suggested for quite some time now that ideally from a Borussia Dortmund point of view, he'll sign a new contract with a release clause, give them 1 more year, and then move on. And that might just suit all parties because I think Dortmund is enjoying his football out there. His mum lives out there with him, and he's very close to his mum and his dad. They're going to have a big say on wherever he goes next. I think I'm right in saying that actually they probably have more control over his future than his agent. So yeah, it's not a massive surprise. And actually economically, from a Liverpool perspective, they don't spend £125 million on one-off signings, do they? So it never really seemed to fit the business model.
Well, this is the point, isn't it? I mean, the fact is that yesterday there was a bit of spin coming out of Liverpool, which sort of laid the groundwork for this story, because suggesting that any move would cost over £100 million, and the club are not considering it as a viable option because basically they need to sign at least 2 midfielders. The size of the rebuild is too high. I mean, the fact is it makes you think were they ever really in the running for him, Danny? Because as Crook has already illustrated, the situation behind the scenes with Liverpool is actually not particularly clear, is it? Because the ownership are looking for fresh investment. There's not a lot of money to spend on new players, and they have got to do a partial rebuild of that squad.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no problem with it. You've got to cut your cloth accordingly. I mean, whether they were ever in or not, or tried to sound it out in terms of a financial deal package, I don't know, but it would seem illogical, really, because it's not how they tend to do things, is go out and buy a superstar for over 100 million. They have spent big, of course, in the past on Alisson.
Well, they went out and got Van Dijk and went out and got Alisson.
Yeah, but that was with Coutinho money, wasn't it? Most of that was Coutinho money. It's not, they don't tend to splash hundreds of millions from nowhere. But yeah, I mean, look, they've got to improve and they've got to try and bring in better than they've got, which sounds obvious, but it's not always easy to do. And I would prefer to see 2 or 3 come in for the price of 1. If the one's going to cost 130 million, for example, 130. Because when you look out there are lots of terrific players. And if your recruitment's good and if you know what you need and want, you can get it. And I'm never big on players spending over £100 million on a player anyway.
But you did say earlier in the week that you preferred quality over quantity when you were writing about this.
Yeah, but what I mean is if you're going to... So you can still get quality if you're talking 130 million. Now, could you get Declan Rice and Mason Mount for that? So 2 for the price of 1.
I think 100 million for Rice, and it still is what West Ham are looking for.
Well, I think you're only worth as much as someone's prepared to pay for you. I think you'd get them 2 for 100, 120, and then if Bellingham's cost, you've got 2 for. I'm not saying Mount or Rice is better than Bellingham, but what I'm saying is you've got 2 players who do play different roles, and you've spent the same money. Just as them 2, for example.
Should we hear from Jurgen Klopp? Because he's been pretty clear that cutting their cloth accordingly is likely to be the Liverpool transfer policy.
Whatever we will do next year, it will never be enough from your point of view, from people's point of view, probably, because it's now, after the year we play here, it's like we play the season, it's like we could send pretty much all of us and then mixing you through. That's for some people, let me say it like this. But yes, with smart recruitment, we will improve. Definitely, that's a plan for recruitment, and in that moment, the whole thing. It's a moment one of these moments where it's really not good that I'm not native, because I can't explain it better in English. It's like you get in this kind of whirlwind, and I'm not sure and it sucks you in that direction, and all of a sudden, where are we? So that's a little bit the case. But that doesn't mean in the moment you get out, it's clear again. It clears up again. It's not that big. I'm not a worse manager than last year. Definitely not. That doesn't mean that the outcome is good enough. Not at all. But I'm not worse. And the players are not worse players. They just play worse.
It's fascinating to listen to Jurgen Klopp, and actually I spoke to him about a week and a half ago, and he said a similar sort of thing to me. I didn't lose my football brain overnight, but he has lost Michael Edwards as a sporting director. He is losing Julian Ward as the man who replaced Michael Edwards last summer. And I wonder whether or not, Crook, that Liverpool are being squeezed by the billionaire owners at City, Chelsea and Newcastle, soon to be Manchester United, and the financial landscape has just kicked on further than they're willing to go.
Yeah, I still think when it comes to Newcastle, actually, I think they're still cutting their cloth accordingly as well. I'm not sure they're going to be quite as big spenders this summer as maybe people expect, even if they do find themselves, as looks likely, in the Champions League. But certainly when it comes to City, when it comes to Todd Bowley at Chelsea, and even when it comes to Manchester United in terms of spending in the transfer window, Liverpool can't really compete. And I wonder, just listening to Jurgen Klopp there, if that frustrates him. What I'm pretty sure on now, and you mentioned him there, Michael Edwards, I think he timed his departure because he realised that this Liverpool success story was coming to the end of its cycle. This team needed a revamp, and maybe there wouldn't be the funds to fully do that in the way that he would have wanted to, and therefore he decided to get out with his stock high, because it's unusual, isn't it, for a sporting director to leave a club of the stature of Liverpool and he's still not returned to work, Michael Edwards. So I think there was a little bit of self-preservation there.
Danny, are you slightly worried that, as Crook says, this Liverpool success story is coming to an end, or is that an overblown criticism of the situation?
I think inevitably there's worry, because you don't want to see the club you love fall off being competitive at Champions League and Premier League level, because that's what we've strived for many, many, many years. Although you don't win it every year, it's pushing City a point here, 99.8, all this, Champions League final, you win one, you lose one, whatever. That's where Liverpool want to be. So there is a concern, I think, most supporters after what they've seen, because it's not just been a little fall away, it's been a massive fall off from where they were at last year to nearly winning all four.
And he said to me he was surprised that it's taken as long as it has to try and turn the tide back.
Everyone's surprised. He must be. There's nobody at Liverpool Football Club who predicted this or saw this coming. And nobody who thought that the squad needed such a revamp.
Is he lucky, Jurgen Klopp, that he's not come under more scrutiny? When you look at the ridiculous number of managerial departures in the Premier League, was it 5 wins in 19 or something
18,
like that?
5 wins in 18. He said that himself, though. When I spoke to him the other week when he was at the Chelsea game, he said, look, it could have been me. Yeah,
but you earn the right, don't you? You earn the right to have an area or a time, in a comfort zone or in a position where you're not.
He's got history. He's got money in the bank, right?
Plenty in terms of credit.
How long does that last? If they miss out on the Champions League this season, if they start poorly next season,
it lasts till the middle of next season.
Yeah,
because
10 games.
It depends how bad the 10 games were.
It depends what happens in the summer, right, with recruitment.
Yeah, but I think Jurgen Klopp is not going to sit on his hands. What I mean by that, he's not going to stay at Liverpool and go into next season without signing new players, is he? He's not daft. He needs to improve the squad. The key is going to be how much they give him to do that and how big a say he has in the player. I think he's got more say than he's ever had in the players that come in. I think the Liverpool supporters generally, nearly to a man and woman, I think that the majority... No, I'd say all of the ones I've spoken to, all of them, want him to have this summer to...
It's only the daft Manchester United fan sitting in the corner there who thinks it'd be a good idea to get rid of Jurgen Klopp.
I'm just asking the question. Just asking the question.
But you're trying to stir it up. There's no way on this earth that it would be a sensible decision to get rid of a manager who has taken you to that many European finals, won you the Champions League, and ended the 20-odd year wait for a Premier League title. That just seems madness, doesn't it? Liverpool don't operate like that, Danny.
No, it's good, but it is really interesting and fascinating to see who leaves and who comes in. Because sometimes getting players out the doors is the harder bit. So a lot of those Liverpool players are earning really good money. I know some are out of contract, so they'll obviously go. But if you want to get rid of, say, Keita, obviously he's not done great. He's not been what people thought he was going to be. How much are you going to get for him? And how much you're going to have to give him to go out the door, because he's going to be earning a fortune. And actually, you need to free up some of your wage bill at Liverpool. Liverpool can't just amass lots of players and have a huge wage bill that when use players that aren't playing. They need to get some money off that wage bill, which they do. Ox will go, probably Milner will go.
Yeah.
Firmino's going, that's a big chunk. Might send one or two of the young lads on loan, free up some space. You've got Fabinho's a question mark at the minute, I'd say, depending who they can get in.
Is Keita not out of contract in the summer?
Don't know, Sam, actually. I haven't checked that one.
He might be.
I should know, but I don't. I actually think, I know I said their names off the top of my head. There's loads of players around Europe you could go and look at and probably feel you can get cheaper. But I do think even though I said them quite flippantly, I do think if you went and got Declan Rice and Mason Mount, that does half look like a different midfield.
I think Declan Rice wants Champions League football. I think that takes Liverpool out of the
good
equation.
Point,
what about Ruben Neves? They've liked him in the past. Wolves expect him to leave this summer.
I'm not sure he's athletic enough. He's a great player. He's a really technically gifted player, but I'm not sure he's the powerhouse that Liverpool need.
I think they're more interested in the other one at Wolves, aren't they? Matthias Nunes.
Yeah, they like him as well.
Yeah, he's more of an attacking player, and he's more of he can glide past people. He's probably one of the few players I can think of who can go past players so comfortably, a bit like Moussa Dembele. You know, since Moussa Dembele at Tottenham stopped playing and he went to China, I've not seen too many midfielders who can just glide past people with that power and that smoothness.
He's terrific, that's for sure. I'm sure we'll follow that story and the rest of the transfers that start to bubble under. Crook's phone will start hotting up around about the end of May, beginning of June. He starts to have a meltdown just before the August deadline, and then he's back and he refreshed after a couple of weeks in Portugal and goes again.